Welcome to Literary Mindset. My name is Joel Antiveros. If you haven't already, make sure and subscribe to my channel. Malcolm X and the rhetorical use of violence. Many individuals create a dichotomy between Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. The claim typically states that King promoted nonviolence, while Malcolm promoted a violent uprising. The inference is misleading, fallacious, and a false dichotomy, because Malcolm never promoted arbitrary violence, nor was he violent within his life. The reason for this discrepancy is because of Malcolm's ideological critique of white liberals. According to liberation theologist James H. Cone, Malcolm brutally attacked Northern liberals because of their tacit creation of urban black ghettos, poverty, crime, and de facto segregation. Moreover, in relation to Malcolm's view on violence, Cone states, "No issue angered Malcolm X more than what whites said about violence and nonviolence in the civil rights movement. They urged blacks to follow MLK, embrace nonviolence, and reject violence in any form. Malcolm could hardly contain his rage as he pointed out the contradictions between what whites advised blacks to do to get their freedom and what they did to attain their own. Patrick Henry did not practice the virtues of nonviolence. George Washington was no pacifist. When whites feel that their rights have been violated, they do not advocate turning the other cheek or kneeling down to pray, because whites did not apply to themselves the same moral logic that they urged upon blacks. Malcolm regarded them as the worst hypocrites on the planet." Indeed, Malcolm was not advocating for violence. He was merely pointing out the hypocrisy of white America's claim that African Americans deviate from achieving their freedom from the path that the founding fathers traveled on. In contrast, Malcolm did not advocate direct violence, but violence ought to be utilized in a response to the philosophical ideal of self-preservation. Cone claims that whites have always recognized this principle for themselves, but not for blacks. Malcolm's methods and tactics were strictly rhetorical and demonstrated how King's pacifism was irrational in relation to how whites achieved their autonomy from their oppressors. These tactics of rhetorical violence were also used by Malcolm in his public speech on human rights, known as the ballot or the bullet. He would create hypothetical situations that would demonstrate how if there were not a necessary change, then we will have to do Y or Z. For example, in Ballot or the Bullet, he states, "If we don't do something real soon, I think you'll have to agree that we're going to be forced to either use the ballot or the bullet." In a logical fashion, Malcolm creates a conditional followed by an exclusive disjunction. If X, then either Y or Z. This disjunction highlights that violence is a possibility and not a necessary nor mutually exclusion condition.